Hello students. So as you know, trigonometry is one important chapter of class 10, and the moment we hear the word trigonometry for the first time, we are already so scared that we think it's very tough and we cannot understand the chapter. We have our preconceived notion even before we actually start studying the topic, because of our seniors or because of some other friend who says trigonometry, that means some theta something is there, and the moment we hear such kind of words which we have not even heard of before, it makes us feel that it's very tough. So let's see what is the reality. So is it really difficult? Okay, first let us understand that what exactly is the word trigonometry made up of. So trigonometry is made up of two major parts: tri, basically trigono, and metry, that is metron. So trigonometry means three angles and the measurement. So there was nothing difficult about the word itself, right? Three angles and the measurement. Okay. And there are few words: sine, cosine, and tangent. Like how they come, I'll just give a short brief. Okay. So sine word comes from the Latin word sinus, which means a curve. Okay. And cosine, it means sinus complemente, that is basically complement of sine. Okay, so that's why co comes before sinus. Okay, and tangent, it comes from, it means touching means just touching the circle at one point, that particular line is known as the tangent. Okay, and that point is known as a point of contact. You would be learning more about it in class 10 also, and in class 9 also you must have come across these terms. Okay, so what we already have known from previous classes, that we know what is a triangle. A triangle is made up of three lines and three angles. Okay, so and we also know the angle sum is 180-degree. And another concept that we had been learning since class 7 is Pythagorean theorem, that is Pythagoras theorem, whatever you call it. Okay, so in this case, if the length of the perpendicular is A, and if the length of the base is B, and if the hypotenuse, what is hypotenuse? The angle 90-degree, the side which is opposite to that is known as the hypotenuse, and hypotenuse happens to be the largest side of the right angle triangle. So if you know these two concepts, like you must have heard it sometime or the other, that the angle sum is 180-degree, already known. And Pythagorean theorem, if you don't know, please go through it one more time. It's very easy. Like for example, if this is 3, this is 4, you have to find this one. So what will happen? 3 square plus 4 square is equal to x square. So what do we get? 9 plus 16 equal to c square. That means c will be equal to 5. Okay, so the base theme of this entire chapter is, earlier you have known, if you know two of the angles, you can find the third angle. If you know the relationship between the angles, you can find the angles. If you know the sides, you one or two of the sides, and some relationship is given between them, you can find the sides also, like we learnt in Pythagoras theorem. But this particular chapter connects what? It connects the angle and the side. So here, if any one of the angle is known, then you can find the sides also, the ratio of the sides. And if you have the ratio of the sides, you can find all the other properties of this triangle. Now, trigonometry mainly deals with right angle triangle only in class 10. Okay, so do not think that for other triangles how we are going to work upon. Only for right angle triangles we are going to study in class 10. So, as I already told you, what is the need for trigonometry? That suppose we know this angle. This is nothing fancy thing. It's just theta for Greeks. Theta, that is t. Okay, it's just a symbol. So, if we know theta, we can find the ratio between this and this, we can find ratio between this and this, we can find anything if we know this theta and if this is at 90 degree. Okay, or if the ratio of the sides are somehow known, we can find the angle at which this is elevated. So as I had been talking all this while, this is a 90-degree angle, this is theta or the angle, and the line that connects 90 degree and the theta, that is known as the base, and the side which is opposite to this angle is known as perpendicular, and the largest side that is opposite to 90 degree is known as hypotenuse. Okay, now you must be thinking a lot of other things also, that why did I take this only as the angle, what if I take this as the angle. Now suppose if I take this as the angle, then this will become my base, this one, and the side away from the angle, that means this one, will then become my perpendicular, and hypotenuse will remain same also in this case. So now let us come to the main core of trigonometry, that is sine theta, cos theta and tan theta. Okay, so sine theta is nothing more than a ratio of two of the sides. So if I take a triangle of length 3, 4, and as we found out the hypotenuse was 5, so sine theta, okay, let me take the theta also, this is the theta. So sine theta means this is my base, 3 is my height or perpendicular, and 5 is my hypotenuse. Okay, if this had been my theta, then 3 would have been my base and 4 would have been my perpendicular. 5 would have remained the hypotenuse in this case also. So sine theta would be equal to what in this case? It is perpendicular by hypotenuse. What is the perpendicular here? 3. Hypotenuse 5. So sine theta is ratio of perpendicular and hypotenuse. What would be my cos theta? Cos theta would be base by hypotenuse. So that would become 4 by 5. And what is my tan theta? Tan theta is perpendicular by base, that is 3 by 4. Okay, so we are clear. Sine theta is ratio of two of the sides, so is cos and tan. Now apart from these three terms, there are three other terms also. The inverse of sine is known as cosec, cosec theta, which becomes in this case hypotenuse by perpendicular. The inverse of cos is sec theta, which becomes hypotenuse by base, and the inverse of tan is cot theta, which is equal to base by perpendicular. Okay, so altogether there are 6 terms over here: sine, cos, tan, cosec, sec, cot. Okay, so now you must be thinking that I was supposed to make things easier for you, but suddenly so many terms came and you might be feeling little lost. But don't think that way. Just hold on for a few minutes. A lot of things will get clear now. Okay. So what was sine? Sine was perpendicular by hypotenuse. Cos was base by hypotenuse, and tan was my perpendicular by base. Now in case of sine, what is the inverse? Cosec, and in this case cos inverse is sec, and this is cot. There are a lot of acronyms that you would get on internet. uh, Pandit, Badri, Prasad, Har Har, Bole, and so many other different acronyms you'll find. Whatever way you want to remember, you can remember that. Okay, now let's try to understand what exactly is sine, cos, and all these things. Okay, if you just memorize, it won't help you much. Okay, in class 9 we have come across this kind of thing. y is equal to 2x plus 3, or maybe y is equal to x square. So all these were what? In chapter number 2, these were also known as function. You remember factor theorem from class 9? Okay. So here what we see, if we put the value of x is equal to 1, then y becomes what? 2 into 1 plus 3. That is 2 plus 3, that is 5. In this case, if I put it as 1, it becomes 1 itself. So when the value of x is 1, the value of y becomes 5 for this particular algebraic expression. So what we do, we give a input. Here we gave input as x equal to 1, and what we got output, y is equal to 5. And how we did the processing? Based on this particular expression 2x plus 3. Okay. So now let us connect the dots. Sine, cos, tan, cosec, sec, cot, all these are functions only. You give an input and you get an output. So here sine theta. So sine of theta. That is how we mention it. Okay. And now remember, your input is theta in this case. Okay. And your output is the ratio of the sides. Okay. And how do we process? The moment it is mentioned, the angle is given. Now you'll also get to see the table, that there are ways to memorize that or understand that. So don't get scared thinking that you have to memorize whole lot of things. If the angle is given, you know the sine theta is the ratio of what? Perpendicular by hypotenuse. So you give the angle as input, you get the ratio of the side as the output. Okay. Now here we talk about the basic mistakes that most of the students make. Base is always the bottom. So in a right angle triangle, we always think this always has to be the base. This can never be the base. Now it all depends on my theta. If my theta is this, then this will be the base. But if my theta is this, then the base will change to this. So it's a wrong thinking to say that base is always the bottom side. Base is the side next to the given angle. So if the angle changes, obviously the base will also change. Okay. So I hope this particular mistake is clear to you. Another mistake is most of us do not understand what is sine, cos, tan. Like we just think that it's a formula, and we mostly write sine equal to p by h. So an interesting thing that we see, that if I write sine and against that if I write p by h, so many people they will replace the sine with p by h, and after that the theta is there, that theta also they write after that. So that is wrong. Okay, so do not make this mistake. And another mistake is ignoring the angle changes. They think that, like the base example I explained, that the theta will always remain at the bottom only and it cannot be the other one. It's obvious that it's a triangle, so there has to be three angles. So I could be talking about this angle or this angle. It's not that always the theta has to be this. Okay. So after that, let us analyze a real-time mistake that one of my students has done and consented for the mistake to be shown. Okay. So here in this question, ACB is a right angle triangle inside a circle. Okay. AB is a diameter. So angle C is 90 degree. So here it was already given that AC is 3. Okay. And the student is supposed to find finally tan B and tan A. Okay. So the student first wanted to find out AO. Okay. For that, what the student did, that AC is 3 centimeter. Okay, that was given. Now OC is, now the plan was to find out the OC like AO by putting the value of OC. So Pythagoras theorem was used. So AC was taken as 3 centimeter and OC was taken as 90 as the value itself. That means 90 instead of angle was taken as a side. So that is a very obvious mistake, because when you don't see the connection between whatever are given and what we need to find, then out of desperation we just look for the numbers and we try to put in the formula whatever we know. So the trap is not to just put in any value in any formula thinking that at least I am trying to attempt, but the point is to understand that where what will work. We cannot put an angle as a value of a side. Okay, so see, it might be that some of you might be having this misconception. So this mistake is to enlighten all those people in case if they are thinking that way, and to help them to not make such mistakes. And it's not a mistake per se, it's a misconception rather. Okay, so we have to unlearn few things, we have to relearn certain things, and there are things which we do not know, so that curiosity always has to be there. So this is the basic theory of trigonometry. We'll come back with the concept of complementary angles as well as identities. And in order to understand more and more such ways to solve questions and to understand the mistakes, stay tuned to this particular channel and you can subscribe to the channel. Thank you and see you all next time.